This is the story of a project that almost didn't exist. At the same time, it's also our biggest project to date. I'm talking about Matura, and I want to take you behind the scenes how we take such a decision. So when we choose a new project, there's a couple of points that are really important to us. First of all, we actually want the project to be within maximum 50 kilometers away from the closest coastline, because we want to bring waste management to coastal communities. The second aspect is we want to have actual additionality, and not just on the material collection perspective, but also on the social perspective. Let me quickly explain what we mean by additionality. If we give money to this project, there should be more waste collected than if this money would not be available, so that we can actually say, through the money that we gave to the project, more waste is being collected. Social additionality means that we want to improve the lives of the people in this community where the waste is being collected, but we also want to improve the lives of the waste workers. So these are the three core aspects that we look at. The fourth aspect is, who's the team behind all this? Can we trust them? Did we work with them before? What is our initial gut feeling when we first talk to this team? And we don't just trust our gut feeling, but actually we do an audit on the team. So first it's desk audit, then we go and meet the team. We see, do they want to implement the technology that we have to track the volumes, all of these things. Now let's look at all these four categories under the lens of Matura. Matura is a city that is next to the Yamuna River. Yamuna goes into the Ganges goes into the ocean. But it's not really a coast. It's not really the ocean immediately. So that was our first concern. The second aspect is, are we collecting actually more waste than before? And there was a big question mark, because there is already waste collection in Matura. So we wanted to really see what is going on, what is the real improvement if we go in. Because so far, the waste basically went into a big landfill in Matura, and it just sat there. It is mixed organic waste with plastic waste, with everything that comes out of a household. The second aspect is obviously the social labor and the labor conditions in the facilities itself. Can we improve the lives of the people that work there? From a first look, yes, but we wanted to know more. And then the fourth aspect is, and this is why we even considered in the first place, is the team behind it. And the team behind it, team from ReCity, is ReCity, one of our long-standing partners that we work with for 3.5 years already. So we said, actually, you know what, ReCity, we trust you so much. You are such a strong partner of ours. You're doing really good work with us. Just because you proposed that project to us is enough reason for us to really take a close look at it. There's one thing that we can't change, and that is that Matura is not an immediate coastal river. So we said, actually, let's look at how big the impact on ocean plastic pollution is. So we jumped on a plane, we flew to Matura, we met the team, we saw the facility, and let me say, it is needed. There's a lot of plastic waste going into the Yamuna River. And as you know, as I already mentioned, the Yamuna goes into the Ganges goes into the ocean. And 80% of ocean plastic is said to come through rivers into the ocean. So it also makes a lot of sense to intervene plastic from actually entering rivers, because they are the highways into the ocean. So we said, okay, I think we can work with that point. Let's take a look at the second point. And when we went to talk to the people that are living next to the river, we saw that not everybody in the river communities actually has waste management. And when we talked to ReCity while we were there, we said, if we do this project, we only want to fund the plastic waste from the communities that are next to the river. And ReCity pointed out that actually the entire drainage system that goes into the Yamuna carries so much plastic waste in it, and that these drainages can be cleaned out regularly. And by that, we pretty much immediately avoid any plastic from going into the Yamuna River. So we said, okay, that sounds really impactful. So there's additionality on the material collection part already there. And the third aspect, the social compliance, the teams that are cleaning the drainage system, they are not immediately from the ReCity team, but they work for the municipality. But still, there's a lot that can be done to give them the proper protective gear, to give them dignity, because it's typically not a job that is well respected, and people really go into these drainage systems. It can get pretty cold in Matura, it can get pretty hot in Matura, and we want to improve the working conditions for the people that have to clean these drainage systems, potentially potentially also bringing in big machinery to make the job more dignified and more scalable. So that was then already covered. There's nothing more to say on the ReCity team. A team with such strong integrity deserves our attention. So we said, okay, I think we can do something here. So what we did is we said, okay, river cities, we can include them. There's additionality in the collection. And actually, when the ReCity team took us to their facility, we saw where the real additionality also from a climate perspective lies. Because what happens at this facility is all waste comes to this one facility in mixed form. Organic waste, plastic waste, everything. And what ReCity built there is a form that they can sort out the majority of the organic waste before the dry waste hits the sorting belts. We come to that in a second. So the organic waste typically went into the landfill and was sitting under the open sky. And what happens is it starts to decompose, and this produces a lot of methane emissions. And methane is a greenhouse gas actually, which is 50 times more potent than carbon, than CO2. And there's a big focus on methane right now in the entire climate space. So it's not just that there's more waste collected, but we can actually avoid methane emissions by sorting out the organic waste, which can be composted, which can be turned into natural gas in the next step. And then all the dry waste goes onto a sorting belt where a lot of rigid plastic is picked out, things that can be recycled, and then whatever cannot be recycled is shredded down and is turned into an alternative fuel for heavy industry, in this case cement. So what happens is, instead of sending everything into a landfill, we can actually reuse the resources that come into that facility and turn them into something new in some cases, and in others we can replace coal through an alternative fuel. So that was another win. In this specific case, we provided a good chunk of the funding upfront so that the team could finish construction work and make the entire facility monsoon-proof when the heavy rains hit. And then in this facility, there's a big chance to employ up to 40 people per shift, give them proper jobs, give them at least minimum wage, provide them with training, security training, and make that a very dignified job. So the community itself also sees the value in doing all this work. And this is how this one trip to Matura really changed our mind on something where we said, you know what, I think this is going to be difficult to realize as a cleanup project, into this is something that we should realize. And the more we talk to ReCity, the more we realize it's not just we should do this, but we must do this. Because I think this entire system that is being set up there can be a massive solution in the journey to free the planet from plastic pollution, because what ReCity is doing in this one city is replicable. Matura is a so-called tier 3 city, and there's 300 of those cities in India alone. Tier 3 cities are cities where between 100,000 to 1 million people live, and in 300 of these cities we see the exact same process. The waste is just being dumped on a landfill, it rots away, the methane goes into the sky, sometimes these things catch fire, all the emissions going into the air, the resources are not being looped back into the economy. So this is something that we can do as a blueprint in Matura, and then take it out of that river community and put it along the coastline in the other 300 tier 3 cities, hopefully. Because by doing this intervention, we're also making the entire process a lot more economical. So we're lowering the cost per ton of waste managed, and this is what we have to achieve. Because real talk, there's only so much money available to fix ocean plastic pollution, so we have to find solutions that really bring the cost down. And this is where we see another great win with the Matura project. And yeah, at the end of the day, we said, let's make this a reality. We're not the only funders of the project, there's others involved, but the Clean Hub funding really primarily goes towards the river communities, towards the drainage systems, and towards improving the quality of life of the people in the waste sector and of the people in these communities. So this is how we made the decision. It's not always black and white, it's not always easy, but I have to say that we're really happy with the decision made, and that we can't wait to replicate this one project into hopefully many more.